The new law. John Carter sat at his kitchen table, staring at the government letter in his hands. His coffee had gone cold, but he didn't care. The words on the paper made no sense. Dear citizen, as part of the new intergalactic integration program, you have been assigned an alien maid from the HFY species. Your maid will arrive at your home tomorrow. John rubbed his temples. Was this a joke? He had heard about the new law on the news, but he never thought it would affect him. The government had signed a peace treaty with the HFY, a powerful alien species known for their strength and intelligence. To improve relations, the government decided to place HFY maids in human homes. John thought it was crazy. He lived alone, worked a regular job, and never asked for a maid, especially not an alien maid. The letter continued. HFY maids are highly trained and will assist with household tasks. They are loyal, disciplined, and protective. Please treat them with respect. Be aware. HFY follow their natural instincts, including territorial behavior and mating rituals. Contact the integration office if you have concerns. John nearly choked on his breath. Mating rituals. What the hell was that supposed to mean? He grabbed his phone and searched online. The government had released only limited information about the HFY program. There were no details about their instincts or what territorial behavior meant. Most articles praised the law, calling it the next step in human-alien relations. A strange feeling settled in his chest. Something wasn't right. The next morning, John was woken up by the sound of a heavy knock on his front door. Thud, thud, thud. The ground almost shook from the impact. John quickly threw on a shirt and rushed to the door. He hesitated for a second before opening it. Standing outside was the tallest woman he had ever seen. She wasn't human. Her deep violet skin shimmered under the sunlight. Long silver hair cascaded down her back. Her golden eyes locked onto John with an intense gaze. She had sharp, chiseled features and stood at least 7 feet tall, her muscular body covered in a sleek black uniform. John's breath caught in his throat. This was his new maid. The woman tilted her head slightly, sniffing the air. Then she spoke, her voice deep and smooth. You are John Carter. It wasn't a question. John nodded, still trying to process what was happening. The alien stepped forward and placed a hand on her chest. I am Zaira. I have been assigned to you. From now on, I will protect this household. Protect. John thought she was supposed to be a maid, not a bodyguard. Zaira stepped inside, scanning the house with sharp, predatory eyes. Her movements were calculated, almost too controlled, as if she was trained for battle. John cleared his throat. Nice to meet you, Zaira. So, you're here to clean. Zaira looked at him with confusion. Clean? No. My duty is to maintain order and safety. John blinked. Right. But the government said you were a maid. Zaira frowned, then reached into a small device on her wrist. She pressed a button, and a holographic document appeared. It displayed a contract from the government, listing her assigned tasks. John scanned the document. Cooking, cleaning, security, companionship, but his eyes froze at the last line. Mating compatibility. Eligible. Bonding status. Pending. A chill ran down his spine. Bonding. Pending. What the hell did that mean? John looked up at Zaira, who was now watching him very closely. You are suitable, she muttered under her breath. As suitable for what? John asked, stepping back. Zaira blinked, then straightened her posture. I will begin my duties now. She walked past him and into the living room, her powerful presence making the space feel smaller. John felt a deep sense of unease. He had no idea what he had just gotten himself into. Hours passed. John sat on the couch, watching Zaira move through his house. She inspected every door, every window, every corner. She rearranged furniture, adjusted the kitchen setup, and even removed sharp objects from easy access points. It wasn't like she was organizing. It was like she was securing a base. John finally spoke up. Zira, what exactly are you doing? She turned to him, her golden eyes piercing. Preparing. The cycle begins soon. John frowned. Cycle? What cycle? Zira didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stepped closer. Too close. John could see the subtle patterns on her skin, like tribal markings that seemed to glow faintly. I will protect you. No one will harm you. No one will take you away. John's heartbeat quickened. Okay, but who's trying to take me away? Zira's expression darkened. Other Xura. If they sense you are unclaimed, they will challenge my right to you. John's stomach dropped. He didn't like the way she said, claim. Before he could ask anything else, his phone buzzed. It was a government alert. Important. Some Xura may display possessive behaviors. Do not engage in confrontation. Follow all protocol. More information will be provided soon. John's blood ran cold. The government was hiding something, and he was stuck in the middle of it. The unexpected encounter. John Carter never thought he'd wake up to something breathing next to him in the dark. But that was exactly what happened. The deep, steady sound. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Close. Too close. His body froze, his mind still heavy with sleep. The room was dark, but the air felt different. Charge. Heavy. Then he felt it. A presence. Something. Someone was standing beside his bed. John's fingers twitched against the sheets. His heart pounded in his chest. He slowly turned his head, only to see two glowing golden eyes staring down at him. His breath caught in his throat. Zira, the towering alien woman, stood by his bed, completely still, watching him like a predator studying prey. John jolted upright. What the hell are you doing? Zira didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. I am observing, she said simply. John swallowed hard. Observing what? You. That single word sent a chill down his spine. John fumbled for his phone, checking the time. 2:47 a.m. He had only been asleep for a couple of hours. He forced himself to breathe. Look, Zira, I appreciate your protection or whatever, but watching me sleep is weird. You can't just. Zira cut him off. Your scent is changing. John blinked. Excuse me. She finally moved, tilting her head slightly, her silver hair cascading over her shoulders. Your body is adapting to my presence. I needed to confirm the progress. John had no idea what she was talking about, but every instinct in his body screamed that it wasn't good. Yeah, well, next time. Maybe don't stand over me like some horror movie villain, he muttered, rubbing his face. Zira made a low humming sound, almost like she was amused. John didn't have the energy to argue. He fell back against his pillow, trying to calm his nerves. Just go to sleep or something, okay? I do not require sleep. Of course you don't, John groaned. He rolled over, pulling the blanket over his head. Maybe, just maybe, if he ignored her, she'd leave. He could still feel her staring. The morning after, John barely got any sleep after that. By the time the sun rose, he was already in the kitchen, making coffee with tired, shaky hands. Zira stood by the window, still as a statue, watching the neighborhood. She hadn't moved all night. John took a deep breath. Okay, I need to set some ground rules. First rule, no standing over me while I sleep. Second rule, personal space. Ever heard of it? Zira turned to him. Your safety is my priority. John sighed. I don't need a full-time bodyguard. You were sent here as a maid, not a security detail. Zira narrowed her eyes. Maid? That is a human term. I am your guardian. Something about the way she said it made John pause. Guardian. The letter said you were here to assist with chores. Zira folded her arms. Do you truly believe the government assigned a Xira warrior for household chores? John opened his mouth, then closed it. She had a point. Something wasn't right. John pulled out his phone, scrolling through news reports. The government had been pushing this alien integration program as a peaceful agreement between species. But there was no real information on the HFY. No history, no biology, nothing. Every article said the same vague things. Elite servants, highly disciplined, loyal to their assigned humans. It felt scripted. He clicked on a discussion forum. Men across the country were posting strange experiences. My HFY maid won't leave my side. She follows me everywhere. She growls at anyone who talks to me. Is that normal? I tried to leave my house last night. She blocked the door. Guys, I think they're claiming us. John's blood ran cold. Claiming. He quickly scrolled down. One comment caught his eye. The government isn't telling us the whole story. The HFY aren't just warriors. They're territorial mates, and if you reject them, it triggers something dangerous. John's hands trembled as he set down his phone. His heart pounded as he turned to Zura. What exactly is this bonding process? He asked, his voice tense. Zura's golden eyes locked onto his. Your body will adapt to mine. The more time we spend together, the stronger the connection. Soon, I will be able to sense your emotions, your needs, your location. John swallowed hard. And what happens if I don't want that? Zura's expression darkened. Rejection is dangerous. Dangerous for who? She didn't answer. Instead, she took a slow step forward, her towering form blocking the exit. You are mine, John Carter, and I do not allow what is mine to be taken. The knock at the door. John was about to argue, until he heard it. A knock at the door. Not a normal knock. It was slow, heavy, measured. Zura's entire body went tense, her muscles coiled, her jaw clenched. John felt a chill run down his spine. Who is that? Zura didn't move. The knocking came again. Thud, thud, thud. Then a deep voice from outside. We smell an unclaimed one inside. John's stomach dropped. Zura's fingers twitched. A low, threatening growl rumbled in her throat. Then she turned to John, her eyes glowing like molten gold. Stay behind me, she commanded. Outside, the knocking stopped. Silence filled the air. Then, boom, the door exploded inward. John barely had time to react before two massive HFY warriors stepped into his home. And they were looking directly at him. The government's secret. John Carter had never been in a real fight before. He didn't even know if this counted as a fight. Because when two massive HFY warriors crashed through his front door, they weren't looking to fight. They were looking to claim. The attack begins. The first warrior stepped forward. His violet skin gleamed under the broken light fixture. His eyes burned with hunger and possession. Unclaimed male, he rumbled. Surrender. You belong to the strongest. John's entire body locked up. Surrender? Belong. What kind of insane alien logic was this? Zura stepped in front of him, her muscles coiled like a loaded spring. He is mine, she growled, baring sharp, gleaming teeth. You will not touch him. The second warrior laughed, a deep, mocking sound. You have not marked him. He is still free. And if he is free, his gaze flickered to John, hot and predatory. Then he is ours to take. John barely had time to react before the first warrior lunged. The impact was like a wrecking ball slamming into a wall. The entire house shook. Furniture splintered. The kitchen table flipped as Zura met the warrior head-on, crashing into the wall with a thunderous crack. John stumbled back, his pulse hammering. Zura fought like a demon unleashed, her strikes precise and brutal. She twisted, dodging a swing, then slammed her fist into the warrior's ribs, hard enough to send him skidding across the room. But the second one was already moving. John barely had time to blink before the massive alien male was in front of him. He reached out. Zura roared. It was a sound so deep, so full of rage and possession, that John felt it vibrate in his bones. She moved like lightning, grabbing the second warrior and slamming him into the ground. The floor cracked beneath the impact. "He is not free," Zara snarled. "He is mine." The warrior groaned but grinned through the pain. "Not yet, but you know the rules, Zara. If he does not bond to you, he will be taken by another." Zara's expression darkened. Her breathing was ragged, her golden eyes glowing. John had no idea what the hell was happening, but one thing was clear. He was the prize in a war he didn't understand. The government's lies. The warriors finally retreated, but not before leaving a warning. "You have 3 days to claim him. If you fail, we will return. And next time, we will not be so gentle." As soon as they left, John turned to Zara. "What the hell is going on?" Zara exhaled, shaking off the last bit of tension from the fight. "I told you, you are unclaimed. That makes you a target." John ran a hand through his hair, frustration boiling over. Unclaimed for what? Why are they acting like I'm some kind of trophy? Zara hesitated. Then, for the first time since she arrived, she looked uneasy. "Because you are." John felt his stomach drop. "Explain." "Now." She sighed. "You are part of a government experiment, John. You were selected because of your genetic compatibility. The HFY species does not serve humans. We were never meant to be maids." John stared. "Then why the hell did they assign you to me?" Zara's jaw tightened, to see if we would bond. John froze. "Bond? Like relationship bond?" Zara's golden gaze locked onto his. "Like mate bond." The words hit him like a truck. "Mate. Bond." John laughed. A short, panicked laugh. "This is a joke, right? The government just what? Hands out alien wives to random guys?" Zara shook her head. "No. It is a test. A controlled pairing." John's heart pounded. He grabbed his phone and pulled up the government website about the program. The official description sounded harmless. "Zara companions will assist with household maintenance. A peaceful cultural exchange to improve interspecies relations. Participants may experience a period of adaptation." Now that he knew the truth, the words sounded like a massive cover-up. His stomach twisted. "How many others like me are there?" Zara hesitated. "Thousands." John's blood ran cold. "Thousands. Thousands of men. All paired with alien warriors who saw them as mates." He scrolled down the website, searching for any real answers. He needed to know what the government was hiding. And then, he found it. A leaked report, buried in the forums. John clicked the file. His eyes widened as he read the hidden document. Zara mating instincts. Confidential government data. Zara bond permanently once they claim a mate. Bonding triggers intense territorial aggression. If Zara's mate is stolen or killed, she goes feral. Humans cannot break the bond once it is complete. John stopped breathing. He looked up at Zara, his mind spinning. Is this true? Zara's gaze softened. Yes. His pulse roared in his ears. So what happens if I say no? What if I don't bond with you? Zara's expression darkened. Then another will take you. By force. John's hand shook. He took a step back. You're saying I don't have a choice. Zara exhaled slowly. You have 3 days. After that, they will come for you. And I will not be able to stop them unless... John's stomach twisted. Unless what? She took a slow, deliberate step forward. Unless you accept me. John felt the room tilt. This was real. This was happening. He had 3 days. 3 days to make a decision that would change his life forever. Outside, the sky darkened. The next wave of Zara was coming. And John was running out of time. The escape plan. John Carter had never felt so trapped in his entire life. The walls seemed to close in around him. The air in his own house felt thick with tension, and every time he turned, Zyra was right there, watching him, waiting for him to make a choice he wasn't ready to make. He had 3 days. 3 days before another HFY warrior would claim him, or worse. And from what Zyra said, if he didn't accept her, he might not survive the process. The growing realization. John spent the next few hours pacing his living room. The weight of the decision he had to make gnawed at him. Accept Zyra's bond, and potentially be bound to a life he couldn't even understand, or try to escape before it was too late. His mind raced. The second group of HFY warriors had left a clear warning. He was the prize in a territorial battle between these aliens, and Zyra was protecting him. But for how long? Could he really trust her? She seemed sincere. After all, she was a warrior who had saved him from other HFY warriors. But there were too many unknowns. The mating bond, the territorial aggression, the fact that he was nothing more than an experiment in a twisted government program. John ran a hand through his hair, stopping in front of the kitchen window. Outside, the world seemed normal. Neighbors walked their dogs, cars passed by. It looked like any other ordinary day. But John knew that everything had changed. He was no longer an ordinary guy. He was now at the center of an alien conflict he didn't understand. The plan forms. Think, John. Think, he whispered to himself. His eyes scanned the room. Everything felt so claustrophobic, like he was locked in a cage. A sudden thought hit him. What if he left? Could he leave Earth? Could he leave the planet and escape the reach of the government and the HFY? John's heart raced as he grabbed his phone. He quickly opened a secure chat app, one that he had never used before, something he kept just for emergencies. He typed a quick message to a contact he had used for off-the-books items in the past. Need an extraction. Location. Earth. Confidential. Discreet. He hesitated before hitting send, his fingers shaking. Would they come for him? Could they help him? The message was sent. Now, all he could do was wait. The conversation with Zyra. Zyra was standing near the door when John turned around. She'd been watching him in silence, her golden eyes filled with an unreadable expression. The air between them felt tense, like the calm before a storm. John didn't know how to ask her the next question, but he had no choice. He needed answers. Zyra, he began, his voice tight. I need you to tell me everything. Why are you here? I mean, why are you here specifically? Zyra didn't immediately respond. Instead, she stepped closer, her presence overwhelming in the small space of his apartment. I was chosen, she said simply. John raised an eyebrow. Chosen? By who? And why me? Why not someone else? Zyra's expression softened, but it didn't hide the edge of fear in her eyes. The government selected us, the HFY warriors, based on your genetic compatibility. You were chosen because you are compatible with us in ways most humans aren't. You are special. John felt a chill run through him. Special? That didn't sound reassuring at all. But she continued, I didn't choose this. I did not choose to come here and be forced into this. You think I want to be trapped with this bond too? No, John. John stared at her, trying to process her words. Zyra didn't sound like she was here because she wanted to be. She sounded like she was a prisoner too. The thought made him pause. What if they were both victims of the same system? You're telling me you didn't know this was going to happen? That you were just sent here? John asked. Zyra nodded, her face hardening again. No one tells us everything. We're soldiers, not lab rats. Her words echoed in his mind. Were they all being used like this? The men chosen for these bonds? Were the HFY soldiers also just being used by the government as weapons? Then why not leave? John asked. Why not just break the bond and disappear? Zyra's eyes narrowed. If it were that simple, I would have done so by now. The bond we form cannot be easily undone, John, and I will never be free until it is. John's heart sank. She was trapped, just like him. But could they escape together? The escape plan takes shape. John sat down, rubbing his temples. He couldn't just sit around and wait for the clock to run out. He had to take action. His phone buzzed, and he snapped it open, almost knocking over the coffee cup on the table. It was a response. The message read, "Extraction team ready. Coordinates for pickup within 48 hours. Confirm time and location." John's mind raced. 48 hours. That was cutting it too close. The HFY warriors would be back long before then. He glanced over at Zaira, who was still watching him, waiting for something. Maybe an answer, maybe a decision. But he couldn't make it yet. John typed quickly. "Confirm extraction. We'll need transport to off-world location. We'll be ready. Location: Warehouse District, 22nd Avenue." He stared at the message before hitting send, his heart hammering in his chest. This was it. Zaira's response. Zaira's eyes flickered to his phone. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice low. There was something in her tone, curiosity mixed with worry. John put the phone down, meeting her gaze. "I'm getting out of here. The government's been lying to both of us, Zaira. There's a way out, and I'm taking it." She blinked, clearly processing what he said. "You're leaving," she whispered. "Yes," John replied firmly. "I have to. You should come with me. I know you're trapped in this too, but you can't stay here." Zaira shook her head slowly. "I cannot leave you. I am bound to protect you, John. I was created for this. The bond is too strong. I cannot run." John stood up and stepped closer to her, his voice softening. "We both deserve freedom, Zaira. You don't have to be trapped like this anymore. Neither of us does." Zaira's gaze flickered with doubt, but it was clear that part of her wanted to believe him. "And if I leave with you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "What happens to the bond? What happens to me?" John's heart ached as he looked at her, the fear in her eyes too raw to ignore. "We'll figure it out. Together. We'll break it. Somehow." Zaira took a step back. "You can't break it, John." But for the first time, John wasn't so sure. The truth about Zaira. John Carter had never been more certain about one thing in his life. He didn't know anything about the woman who had been living under his roof for the last few days. Zaira, the towering, fierce HFY warrior, had claimed him as her charge. She'd sworn to protect him from other HFY warriors, but every time John thought he was beginning to understand her, she would do something that would make him question everything. Her strength, her instincts, her loyalty, they were unlike anything he had ever seen. But there were still so many secrets she kept hidden behind those golden eyes. A dangerous calm. The house was silent, the only sounds the soft hum of the air conditioning and the faint noise of footsteps outside the house as HFY warriors seemed to be patrolling the area. The sense of danger was growing thicker, suffocating him, and John could barely think straight anymore. His phone had buzzed with the confirmation of the extraction plan, but there wasn't enough time. The warriors were closing in. Zaira stood by the window, her sharp eyes scanning the outside world, her posture tense, almost predatory. She had barely spoken since John had confirmed the extraction plan. She had been quieter, more withdrawn. Something had changed, and for the first time, John could see cracks in the steel wall she had built around herself. "Zaira," John began, his voice uncertain. "There's something I don't understand." Zaira's eyes flickered toward him, but she didn't say anything. She didn't even move. She simply stood there, watching, waiting. John took a deep breath. Why me? Why was I chosen for this bond? I'm just a guy. I'm nothing special. Zaira remained silent for a long time, the only movement her slow, deliberate breaths. Finally, she turned around, her face still as a stone mask. "You're special, John Carter." John frowned, his mind reeling with questions. "But I don't get it. Why me? Why was I chosen to be the one you're supposed to bond with?" Zaira's gaze softened ever so slightly, her golden eyes losing some of their fierce edge. She stepped forward, but still kept a cautious distance. "It is not about what you are, John. It is about what you carry." John blinked, confusion clouding his thoughts. "What I carry?" She nodded slowly, her voice low and almost sorrowful. "Humans have a power, a strength that we do not fully understand. You think your species is weak, that you are just simple beings living on a small planet. But you are not." John felt a strange chill run down his spine as she continued. "You have a power within you, John, a strength that draws us to you." He stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. The bond, the territorial behavior, the strange feeling of attraction he'd felt whenever Zaira was near, it was all making sense in a way. But it also felt like a trap. "Are you saying," John began slowly, "that this bond, this claim, is not just about us, but about something bigger?" Zaira's eyes darkened. "Yes," she answered quietly. "It is about our species surviving. The hidden truth." The words hung heavy in the air, but John wasn't ready to accept them. "What are you talking about, Zaira?" Zaira hesitated, her golden eyes glimmering with something John couldn't read. Then, with a quiet sigh, she sat down on the couch across from him. She folded her long legs underneath her, her posture graceful but tired, almost defeated. "The HFY species is dying," she said softly. "Not physically. No. We are still strong. But we have been at war for centuries, John. War with other species, with ourselves. And now, there is nothing left of us but a dying race." John's breath caught. The thought of an alien species, one as powerful as the HFY, dying out was almost impossible to comprehend. Zaira's voice softened even more, her gaze distant. "We HFY were once conquerors, but we became isolated, too proud, too rigid. Over time, our population has dwindled, and now only a few of us remain." John shook his head. "That doesn't explain why I was chosen." Zaira's eyes locked onto his, full of pain now, something she rarely showed. "It does. You see, the HFY can only bond with a species that has enough genetic compatibility to survive the bond. Your species, humanity, has that compatibility. But it is more than just physical attraction. It is about the strength you carry in your genes, the drive to survive and adapt. You are the key to our species' survival." John could barely process the words coming out of her mouth. "So you're saying that I'm here because of some kind of genetic experiment?" Zaira's face tightened. "Yes. The government selected certain humans for genetic compatibility, but they also understood the risks. They wanted to see if the bond could work. They wanted to see if the HFY could adapt to the human need for emotional connection, not just physical strength." John was shaking his head. "So what? I'm just a pawn in this war. I'm supposed to save your species." Zaira looked down at her hands, her fingers flexing, as if struggling with a decision. "No, John. You are more than that. You are not just a pawn. You are a mate to me. The darker side of the bond." John's heart beat faster. The word mate sent a rush of panic through him. "No, Zaira. I can't. This bond. I can't." She reached out, her hand hovering inches from his. "John, you are afraid, but you do not understand. The bond is not just about survival. It is about trust." "Trust," John echoed, feeling the weight of her words. "You've been guarding me, protecting me. But I don't know anything about you, Zaira. I don't know if I can trust you." Zaira's eyes hardened. "I have never lied to you, John. I have only done what I was made to do, to protect you. And you must trust that, or we both will fail." John stared at her, his mind spinning. The bond, the attraction, the need for protection, it was all so overwhelming. And yet, he couldn't ignore the voice in the back of his mind, warning him to run. But Zaira's eyes, those glowing golden eyes, were filled with genuine fear and longing. There was something human in her, something more than just the warrior she presented herself as. "You are not the enemy," Zyra said softly, almost pleading. You are the key to everything, John. To my survival. To our survival. John's throat tightened. He could feel the weight of the choice in his chest. The world outside was growing darker, and he knew that time was running out. The final chase. John Carter could feel the heartbeat of the universe in the silence. The moment the door slammed open, his world shifted. Outside, the HFY warriors were here, and they weren't here to talk. The sudden, deafening sound of boots slamming against the concrete outside his door was the final confirmation. They had come, and now they were about to drag him away. John felt a cold sweat break out along his neck as he exchanged a quick, silent glance with Zyra. We can't stay here, she whispered, her voice full of urgency. Her golden eyes darted to the window, where shadows of the incoming warriors began to creep closer. She was already calculating, her mind working faster than his could keep up. What do we do? John asked, barely able to keep his voice steady. He didn't feel like the man in control of his own fate anymore. He felt like he was standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the wind to push him off. Zyra didn't answer immediately. Instead, she reached for her wristband, her fingers moving with a kind of precision that suggested she had practiced this before. Without warning, she activated a holographic map, an underground escape route leading out of the city. It wasn't just an escape plan. It was their only chance. We're leaving now, Zyra said firmly, her eyes flashing with something fierce, something more human than John had ever seen. He could see it now. She wasn't just a soldier. She wasn't just a protector. She was a woman desperate to survive, to break free of her own predetermined fate. John's stomach twisted. Are you sure? He asked, his voice hoarse. His fingers tightened around his phone. The extraction team was supposed to be arriving, but the warriors would be here too soon. The two of them were on their own now, and the plan had to be executed immediately. Zyra nodded, her face unreadable. If we wait any longer, they'll catch us. The extraction team won't get here in time. The chase begins. John didn't have time to argue. The thundering steps of the HFY warriors outside grew louder, and the door rattled with a vicious bang. Zyra motioned for John to follow her, and without another word, they dashed toward the back of the house, moving faster than John thought possible. John's mind raced. Escape. Survival. It was happening. As they bolted through the back door and into the alley, John barely noticed the cool night air hitting his face. He only noticed that Zyra was faster than him, weaving through the narrow passageways with a confidence that made his heart pound in his chest. She was born to survive. She moved like a predator, her muscles rippling with every step, but her eyes always flicked back to make sure he was following. John's breath came in short bursts, the alleyways twisting in on themselves as if they were conspiring against him. He heard the warriors outside shouting, their voices carrying through the walls. But there was no turning back now. Keep up, Zyra ordered, her voice full of quiet command. It was the voice of someone who had been through hell and back, and was determined not to fall again. John's legs burned as he pushed himself harder, his thoughts spinning. This was it, the moment he would either make it out alive, or he would be caught and forced into the bond Zyra was desperate to avoid. They reached a dead-end alley, and Zyra didn't hesitate. She tapped the side of a brick wall, revealing a hidden door, a secret entrance to the underground tunnels. Without a word, she opened it and motioned for John to follow. John hesitated for just a moment, hearing the shouts from the warriors behind him. They were getting closer. The trap was closing in. Now, John, Zyra shouted, pulling him inside. John stepped into the darkness of the tunnel, his eyes adjusting slowly. The air in here was damp, cool, and smelled of rust and age, but it felt like a sanctuary compared to the chaos outside. He could hear the sound of water dripping from the ceiling, the faint hum of electricity flickering in the distance. Zyra led the way, her silhouette cutting through the darkness like a shadow. John followed close behind, his steps echoing on the stone floor. The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. They were running out of time. The truth revealed. As they ran through the narrow corridors, John's thoughts were still reeling from everything Zyra had told him. The HFY species, the bond, the warriors chasing them, the truth of his own genetic compatibility. It was all coming at him like a tidal wave, crashing and pulling him under. "Zyra," he gasped, his breath ragged. "You said your people were dying. What does that mean? How can this bond save you?" Zyra didn't look back, but her voice softened. "The Xyra are a warrior race. We are bred for battle, bred to conquer. But our species has been losing the war for generations. We are losing our numbers, our strength. We have no future unless the bond works. It is the only way we can continue." John felt the gravity of her words pull at him. His entire world, everything he had known, was suddenly collapsing under the weight of what she said. "So, this bond," John began, trying to make sense of it. "It's not just for you. It's for your entire species." Zyra's voice was barely a whisper now. "Yes, if the bond succeeds, that HFY can grow stronger. We can reproduce, and our race will survive." John stopped in his tracks, his mind spinning. "You want me to be your mate because the survival of your species depends on it. I'm not a tool. I'm not just a means to an end." Zyra turned to him sharply, her golden eyes burning with intensity. "No, John, you are not just a means to an end. This bond is more than just survival. You are my partner. You are the one I must protect. And it is not just for my species. It is for us. For you and me." John's chest tightened. The words he wanted to say caught in his throat. How could he respond to that? The warriors close in. Before John could form a reply, the rumble of footsteps echoed behind them, louder this time. The warriors had found their trail. They weren't just chasing. They were closing in. Zyra's head snapped to the side, her senses alert. "They're faster than I thought," she muttered. "We need to move." John's heart thudded against his chest. The tension in the air was suffocating. They couldn't outrun the warriors forever. Zyra turned back to John, her gaze fierce but full of something softer, something that almost felt like regret. She reached out and grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the next corridor. "The extraction team won't get here in time," she said, her voice low and serious. "We have to make our stand now. The ultimate choice." The underground tunnel felt colder than ever, and every footstep echoed in the damp darkness like a reminder of the terrifying decisions ahead. The warriors were closing in. The walls of their world were tightening. John Carter knew that the time to run was over. Now it was time to fight. The decision weighs heavy. John's heart raced as he stood beside Zyra, his mind spinning with everything he had learned. The weight of her words, the truth about the Xyra species and their desperate need to survive, kept repeating in his mind. He understood now that this wasn't just about him. It wasn't just about Zyra. This was about a species on the edge of extinction. Zyra stood just a few feet away, her body tense, her fists clenched at her sides. The faintest glimmer of light from a crack in the tunnel's walls revealed her sharp features, casting eerie shadows on her face. Despite the vicious warriors chasing them, despite the world crumbling around her, she wasn't backing down. "John," Zyra's voice broke the silence, and he turned to face her, their eyes meeting in the dim light. "We can't escape anymore. The warriors will keep coming, but we can make a stand here." John swallowed hard. There it was, the truth of their situation. There was no safe place to run. The government had lied to them, using both of them as pawns. Now they were on their own, caught in the middle of a war that wasn't their own, but they were the ones who had to decide how it ended. John had 3 days to make a decision. And now, here he was, standing on the brink of an irreversible choice. Did he take Zyra's offer, accept the bond, fight for the survival of her species, and become part of something bigger than himself? Or did he run from it all, rejecting the bond, and risk the wrath of the HFY, knowing he might lose Zira in the process? Zira's eyes glimmered with something more than just fear now. It was determination, a raw, unyielding drive to protect him and her species, even at the cost of her own life. John took a slow, steadying breath. I don't know if I can trust the government. I don't know if I can trust this bond. His voice shook with the weight of the words he was about to say. But I know I can't just stand here and let them tear us apart. We have to fight, together. Zira's face softened ever so slightly, though her expression remained fierce. We will fight, together. The final stand. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet trembled with the sound of heavy footsteps. More warriors, their massive forms approaching from the darkness. The HFY had arrived. John could feel the intensity of the moment. The walls around them seemed to grow smaller with each passing second. He could hear Zira's breath, steady and strong, beside him. She was prepared to die for this, prepared to die for him. The warriors were only a few yards away now, their voices echoing through the tunnel, their demonic growls reverberating in the confined space. John glanced at Zira, and for the first time, he saw something in her eyes that he hadn't before. It was hope. They weren't going to run. The HFY warriors stepped into the narrow tunnel, their eyes glowing bright yellow in the dark. They were massive, too massive for John to fight alone. But Zira, she wasn't alone. She stepped forward, her muscles rippling beneath the sleek black armor that covered her body. The warriors stopped, eyes locking onto her in recognition. There was no mercy in their eyes, only the promise of competition and violence. Zira, one of the warriors growled. You have defied us long enough. The bond is not yours to refuse. Stand aside, and we will take him. Zira's posture stiffened, her eyes blazing with defiance. No. The word was quiet but firm. He is not yours. He is mine. John's heart skipped a beat. He wasn't sure if he could go through with this. The bond, the territorial claims, it all seemed so dangerous, so out of his control. But what else could he do? There was no safe choice, no running. They had to fight. The battle for survival. The first warrior lunged at them, his massive hands outstretched, aiming to grab John by the throat. But before he could reach him, Zira was there, her fists flying in a blur of deadly speed. She caught the warrior's arm mid-swing, twisting it with a sharp crack that echoed in the tunnel. John didn't have time to think. He reacted instinctively. His survival instinct kicked in. He grabbed the nearest object, an old pipe lying against the tunnel's wall, and swung it at the second warrior, knocking it off balance. The warrior roared in pain, but John didn't stop. He kept fighting, fueled by adrenaline and desperation. Zira was right beside him, her ferocity unmatched, cutting down the enemies one by one with a grace that seemed almost unnatural for someone so powerful. But the warriors were relentless. They kept coming. The fight dragged on, with John and Zira barely managing to hold their ground. John's heart pounded in his chest as he swung the pipe again. But this time, he didn't just react. He was fighting for something, fighting for his life, for Zira, and for the chance to make a choice about his own future. And then, in the midst of the chaos, he saw her, Zira, standing between him and the last warrior, her back arched, her body ready to deliver a final blow. No, she said, her voice low and steady. This ends now. With one swift motion, she tore through the warrior's defenses, sending him crashing to the ground with a deafening snap. John's breath caught in his throat. Zira had done it. They had won. But the victory was short-lived. He could see that Zira was injured, her shoulder was bleeding, and there was a deep gash across her side. She was exhausted, but she didn't collapse. She didn't even falter. The ultimate decision. John rushed to her side, his hands trembling as he helped her to her feet. Zira, you're hurt. Zira gave him a weak smile. It's nothing. The warriors are gone. But the battle had taken its toll. John knew that they couldn't keep fighting forever. They needed to escape, and now they had a choice. He looked at her, his breath still coming in short bursts. "Zyra, I don't know what's going to happen next, but if we're going to survive, if we're going to stay together, we need to decide. Do you want to bond with me, or do we run? The extraction team could still be our way out." Zyra's eyes softened. She took a deep breath, then looked at him, her gaze full of resolve. "I have made my choice." She reached for his hand, her fingers brushing his with a soft touch. "We bond, John." And with that one final decision, the future of their species and their relationship was sealed.